Living family life. Fellowship oriented.
And I let my life be the first way that I express my love. I let my song be my life echo.
Also in partnership with the Massey Foundation. We want to say thank you to all of our partners who support EKCO Nation and what we're doing to really impact the nation. Our mission is change the culture, change the future. And we've been bringing you these radio shows every Tuesday at 4 p.m. where we talk about digital parenting, how to parent better in the digital world. And we have with us, we have Shernal, our co-host. How are you doing?
Well, good afternoon to you.
I am doing great right now. Good evening, lifers.
All right. So today we are going to be talking about online threats. We mentioned so much before about the importance of getting our children digitally ready before they go into this world, because there are a lot of threats, there are a lot of opportunities, but there are also a lot of threats that exist in the digital world. And we want to be able to cover everything, but we want to make sure that we at least touch on some of the more important or the more common threats that we're seeing in the digital world that parents have to be very careful of. And to frame this, what we're going to do, we talk about digital citizenship before, and if you've been listening to EKCO Nation and you've been listening to Boldface Saturdays, you know what digital citizenship is all about. It's all about being safe, confident, and positive with your engagement with digital technologies. And it takes in the 3 C's. And anybody that follow EKCO Nation, if you came to EKCO Nation at Farley Hill, you would have heard about the 3 C's. And the 3 C's are conduct. How are our children conducting themselves online? Because how they conduct themselves can open them to threats. We talk about contact. Who are our children contacting online? Because there are threats there as well. And then we're talking about content. What is the content that they're looking at, and how that content can cause some damage or some could threaten the safety of the child in terms of their online engagement. So we're talking about conduct, contact, and content. So Shernal, what's the first thing that we're going to look at when we're talking about conduct?
You say conduct, but I'm going to ask you about oversharing. Which category would that fit in?
Exactly, in conduct.
Right.
So oversharing is where, and this is something that can be so common with children, especially if they get onto social media without having the digital readiness preparation. And for those who don't know, children should not be on social media platforms before the age of 13, and there's reasons for that. We talked about that from a data privacy perspective last week. But oversharing is when we share too much information online, including our location, our private information, our contact information. There's various things that we could share online that persons can use to turn around and jeopardize our safety, our privacy, and our reputation. So oversharing, most persons would spend a lot of time oversharing on social media platforms, on statuses, and that type of stuff. So it's very important that as parents, we teach them what they are allowed to share and what they cannot share. And especially if they're not at the age, they should not be online sharing this information, whether it's in games, or gaming platforms, no matter what the platform is. When they go on certain sites registering for certain things, they should not do that without parental supervision.
And it's important that parents understand oversharing as well, because we think that it's something simple, as you just said, sharing too much information, where I live, my passwords, that kind of thing. But pictures, you know, like we post every single thing we do. I'm out at the movies here. I am out, I'm on vacation. So we think it's innocently sharing information, but you might be sharing too much information for that person who's a predator, that person who's watching you, that person who wants to know, okay, the parents are out, so your child is home alone, or the child is so and so location, so I can find them here. So all that is oversharing as well. So we have to be careful of content and what we're posting online, and over posting and sharing too much information about where we are, what time, and all that information as well.
Yes, we have to teach children how to use the privacy settings, and this is something we mentioned last week, or we had our IT expert using privacy settings. So you may want to share something, but knowing in what environment it should be shared. So if it is something that you're sharing with your parents, obviously that's something you do in a private setting with the privacy settings on. But sometimes we share things not recognizing that the public has access to these things, and it's very important that we do not get in the practice of oversharing. So have that talk with your child about what types of information they can and cannot share online, and making sure the privacy settings in whatever platforms or on whatever device is set up to prevent that.
Because I mentioned it just now, I want you to go there, because I talked about why oversharing is an issue. So let's talk about why you should be sharing so much. Let's talk about the dangers associated with oversharing. Like, big deal. So I post all my food and I'm out all this time. Why is that a big deal?
All right, so when you go out there, you're going into the space now of contact, all right? So we're moving from conduct now to contact. And when we talk about that, there are several persons who exist online that do not have your child's safety and so on to their heart. They really want to see how they can manipulate that. So we have several persons that exist online, and we're talking about they're trying to gain the child's trust sometimes to get information or to get money or to get illicit favors, or for abuse or for scamming or for theft and more. And so we have a whole bunch of people that exist, and we're going to call some terms now. Some terms you may have never heard before, and some terms may be things you've heard before. So the first type of person, we were talking about contact, there are threats that are online. The first type of person that we're talking about will be the catfishers. Do you know what a catfisher is?
Someone that uses a fake identity online for the purpose of fraud or deception.
Jeez, you're
or
great.
Abuse.
You're a great student and facilitator.
But the thing about it is, because I tell my kids the children usually know what it is. Parents don't know, but the kids tend to know. And as we mentioned, we've been in class 4s, and the class 4 students know. So this is not even secondary school. They know what catfishers are. And I say to them often, how many of you have social media accounts? And most hands go up in the air. And what age did you have to say you were on to get this account? And then they all start to smile because they realize I had to tell a lie because I'm not yet 13 years old. I said, so are you being fake about your identity online to deceive? Does that make you a catfisher?
And then their eyes open wide like, that's true. And that's the whole thing, is that we need to, as parents, we need to ensure that we have the right, we teach them responsibility. And part of that responsibility, we don't want them to go and lie before persons with a fake ID, because we know that is against the law. So in the same way, if you're going to access certain things online that you know they should not have access to at that age, and we're encouraging them to lie about it, we're actually perpetuating that type of identity for them, in terms of faking who you are online to get access to things you should not have access to. And
it's a practice behavior, and I'm glad you said it like that, because I've not drawn the link before to my kids, but that is a very important one, because we all definitely front on it in the natural. We won't want you to go into an establishment, say serving alcohol, although there's no technical age in Barbados. But the point is, saying that I am this age and you go to buy something that's not, you would frown on that for your children.
Correct.
But yet, we do not frown on it when they decide that they're 13 years old and they're only 9 or 10.
And I think is the reason why parents might not frown on it, because what we're discussing today, they don't understand the threats and the dangers that exist.
True.
Right? So getting back to catfishers, now when we flip it on the other side, many children may go on these platforms, and sometimes even in some children platforms, they go ahead and they're talking to persons and sharing information with persons that they have never met. All right, and one of the things that we know catfishers do is that they pretend to be something or someone else. So they pretend to be another child or a child at another particular school, and all of this is in order to gain the child's trust to get information or to scam them or whatever. All right. So a catfisher is someone who exists online, as you said, with a fake identity in order to get information from you. And parents, we must teach our children that in the same way we don't talk to strangers, we have to say, look, when going online, don't talk or share any type of personal information with strangers, all right? And that can be a very dangerous activity, all right?
You talk about strangers, and a threat then is, and I need to talk about this one because, again, they might think that it's a friend because accounts get hacked, and I can say that I am so-and-so, your friend from at school, and I can have their same account that you've been using all along, or you thought that they were using. So what about that? Because they think that they're innocently talking to one of their friends.
And even in that, it comes back to the basic, which is what types of information should I share, even with a friend? Because there are situations, and we know this happening in Barbados, where sometimes friends and family ask our children to do negative things or ask for information that they should not be sharing online. So sometimes it could be someone you know. It is still the standard, well, even if it's someone you know, what are the things that you are not allowed to share online? And that is to protect the safety and the privacy of the child. So we have to teach these things. Children will go into game rooms and will be playing with friends and so on. And sometimes that is the environment. Actually, that's probably one of the growing environments where the child's privacy and the whole connecting with catfishers come in line, or even with the negative social interaction with friends and family comes in line. We know of situations where family members have asked children to share inappropriate photos, or the family member or the friend may be asking the child for information to deal with what's happening in the home for slanderous reasons. So in all these things, understand that the online platform creates an open door for someone to connect with your child, and if you're not monitoring that, if you're not teaching your child acceptable use and what things they can and should not share online, you're opening up your home, where you have a locked door, physical door, you have an open door through digital platforms.
So would you call these adults, even if they're family, online child predators?
Child predators come down to when someone is actually grooming the child to get an illicit favor, usually sexually related, or where there's abuse involved, or where they're luring them with gifts to get certain types of things. And sometimes it comes down to companionship. Some people may call it that. But usually it is where you're grooming a child in a particular way.
Break down that word grooming for us.
All right, so grooming in essence is when you're building an emotional connection with a child in order to, and you're using attention and sympathy and affection and kindness in order to lower their guard or lower their inhibitions, right? So for instance, if you have a child who's sharing statuses, and the statuses, let's say we give an example. My parents just don't understand me. What a groomer could do is that they could see that status and they could go in and say, text the child and say, look, I feel the same exact way. My parents don't understand me either. and they're going through this and go through that. So what they do is that they mirror the emotions sometimes that the child may have, or they show sympathy in a particular way. And not that the child is getting something that they may feel they're not getting at home. And therefore those children who are usually targets in terms of bullying, or who are usually lonely or that type of stuff, those are breeding grounds for groomers to swoop in, give them sympathy and attention in order to get certain information. So then they have what we would call phishing conversations, where they may ask the child to reveal the location or the schedule where they go to school and that type of stuff. And then they may start using gifts to lure the child to share certain information. And I could give a simple example. I remember when we went into a primary school and we were talking about this, and we asked the children, have any of you came across an adult who asked you to do something that you thought was inappropriate, and so on? And one child, this is primary school by the way, and this is a child that is on a social media platform. She said she posted a picture of her and her little brother online, and what she thought was obviously an adult person messaged her and said, "Hey, what a lovely picture," and he offered her a gift. I can't remember if it was money or a particular gift. And he said, "Hey, I want to get to connect with your little brother." Wow. So he was not interested in her, but he was interested in her little brother. So for him, "Hey, I'm going to give you a gift so that you can get me connected with your little brother." And we are seeing children in almost every primary school we went into, where there were children who were on social media or using statuses and so on. There was someone who said yes, someone connected with me and who said yes, I look pretty, and they felt something that they said was inappropriate in terms of what they were doing. And most times, or several of the times, those children did not relate the occurrence to their parents.
Exactly.
Right?
And the thing is, I've heard my kids, this is one that they, in the moment, because we know how gaming affects the brain and the boost that you're getting, the feeling that you're getting when you're getting, making up the levels. And someone told me, "Yes, ma'am, you have to pay for levels." And so what will you do if someone offers to pay for your level? Well, of course.
Exactly.
So, and that's one of the ways, and that's one of the key ways that you're getting to children, because in the moment, this child just knows, I want to level up. Mommy ain't paying for it, daddy ain't paying for it. I have no money. Somebody's offering to level up for me and to pay for me. You're not asking them for anything at the moment.
Correct.
But it's after they have passed that level or passed a couple levels, when their child have gotten attached or addicted, then you know that they're hooked.
And that not only happens with the younger children, that also happens with the older children, because we're going into secondary school as well. We know of children who would say yes, and it was connecting with this person and so on, and the person said, "Well, hey, we've been connecting for a while online. I would like to meet you in person. And could you meet at Shafet, or could you meet at this type of place at this type of time?" And sometimes they would say, "Well, don't let your parents know because they're kind of shy, I want nobody to know that, blah, blah, blah." And if you've been to any parenting session with EKCO Nation, you know about the emojis and the short terms that they would use as code in order to hide what it is that they're really doing, so that parents would have knowledge of it. And we've heard some of our children's students said, "Yeah, that happened to me because I went to meet the person at Shafet, and when I saw who I thought what the person was, I realized it wasn't another school person. It was a big man, a big hardback man. And so I ran and come along, and we asked him, "So wait, did your parents know about this?" "No, my parents didn't know about it." And this is someone that this is not like a 16-year-old, this is like 12, 13 that we were talking about. So these are things that as parents we have to be very careful of, because there are situations here in Barbados where young women have been sexually abused because of these encounters.
And oftentimes, children do not tell their parents, not because they're necessarily hiding things from you, but because they're ashamed.
Correct. And that's why it's important for parents
to have that relationship. Exactly. And we've heard that from all of our guests so far. You know, all of them talk about nothing can replace that relationship. Do not use technology to replace relationship. Relationship must come first with your child, and that's very key. So we've touched on conduct, and contact.
Well, let me just quickly finish with the others, because there are other persons that are like, we talk about catfishers and online predators and the negative social interactions, but we also talk about fishers and smishers and vishers.
Yeah, like please tell us, what are these?
And these are basically persons who use fraudulent emails and texts and voice calls or voice messages purporting to be reputable people, like people from the bank or from school or whatever, in order to get persons to reveal information.
We've won lots of money from somewhere.
Get a phone from Digicel or phone from Floor, or get this trip to this place, fill out this information. And we fill out information, and sometimes the child might get a PS5, and they I want PS5, that's all you gotta do. And the child fills out the information, and then you go to the next step, or the final step is that you have to provide a credit card, because just in case that we want to bless, add funds to your PS5 membership or whatever. And the child said, okay, where you can get that information? Well, just go and get the card from your mommy or daddy's wallet, and blah blah blah. It's going to be safe. You're not going to charge the card. This is nothing. You're not going to get in trouble for this. And our children may get involved with things, and their parents who came up to us and said, I see this big charge.
It has happened. We were called to school last year. One of our class 4 intervention sessions was for just for that reason. There was a big issue in the school when the child took the parents' credit card and bought stuff online. So was it because of phishing? What, 3 of them? we're not sure if it's connected to that, but these things are happening here in our Barbados.
All right, so you were talking about moving on to the last C,
which is content. Am I correct?
Correct. Content. We talked about conduct, and we called contact, no content. And the major challenge in terms of threats online that parents need to be looking at is inappropriate content. And this is content that can be emotionally or psychologically damaging to the child. It is material that's directed towards adults, or sometimes inaccurate information. We talked about misinformation and disinformation before, or information that might lead a child into lawful or unlawful or dangerous behavior. And the types of content that you see there will be things like sexually explicit or vulgar content, content that's promoting extremism or violence, content that is promoting hate and so on, hate speech and so on, and then content that may advocate unsafe behavior such as self-harm or dangerous pranks. And we see those type of things, especially on social media, where children see someone doing these pranks and they look funny and they look like also exciting, and they get involved with it. And we know of situations here in the Caribbean where children have gotten involved in doing these pranks, and they either hurt themselves, some had unfortunately died, and there are others who hurt others. All right, so these are things that as parents we need to be very aware of. And then when we talk about the sexual explicit content, obviously we know the big 4-letter word that is a concern online, and that is...
Well, you're saying 4-letter word is much longer than 4 letters. And what I want to bring that to attention is because when I ask kids, or when I bring up the slide that says child pornography, they go like, what's that? We don't know what that is, ma'am. But when you call that 4-letter word, they all know that porn.
And that is the thing that as parents we need to protect the mental health of our children by ensuring that they don't get exposed to things and being taught certain things in a destructive way. So you must, as the parent, be the one to guide the sexual education of the child and not allow a distorted view of sexual education be guided by in terms of porn. And the thing is about, and we mentioned this before, the thing is about the porn industry, you don't have to go looking for it. It comes looking for you. So as parents, we need to make sure that we have the correct settings on our devices so that when they go into Google and they're doing Googling for certain things, you have the safe search on, so that safe search protects your child against certain things. You also, the same thing goes for gaming. There are certain games that are inappropriate for our children because there are games that groom certain types of behavior. And the games are not created for children. There are games that are rated M, which is 17 and over. There are games that are rated AO, or adult only, or adult A plus. And we have, in primary schools, we've come across where children are playing adult-rated games or mature games, and they're the ones who are telling us about these games that really groom certain types of behavior in children. And as parents, we need to ensure that we check the ratings of games. If you have the family monitoring apps that we talked about last week, you could say, well, hey, if your child is registered with the right age, these gaming platforms already say, well, hey, this is not accessible for your child, or this is not for them, and it blocks them from being able to access that type of content as well as access that type of gaming material.
Parents, it is my time now. Arnell is being very nice and polite, but I need to scold you. Last school I was at, class 4th again, children are online, and I know that they finished their exams, so they have nothing much to do, but they're going to bed way too late. And I'm asking them, what are you doing on your device after 9 at night? Mom, midnight on my device. My mom don't check, my father don't check, my parents don't check. So they give us the devices. They're on all hours of the night. And as you just said, porn is there. It's going to grab their attention. You're going to look at it. Anything you shouldn't look at as human beings, not just children, we want to see. How much more your child. And they're being exposed to things that they're not mentally, emotionally, psychologically ready for as yet. So we are harming our children. So sometimes the biggest predators, the biggest danger to our children are us, the parents. And we need to be more intentional with our parenting. And parents, I want to implore you, look at your child's devices. They're not toys. These are serious. These can be very dangerous devices. I mean, they're for good. And we get to that, we talk about that all the time. But in the wrong hands, they can be weapons. We want you to be more intentional with what you do and how you use them. So we talked about the family, what do we call it? Our family contract?
Family media plan, yeah.
Family media plan, which is a contract between you and your child. We want you to have those. It's important that you have those. Saying what times you can be on your devices, what you can go on, what you decide you will go on. All these things you put in contract with your children, it's very important. And parents, I am encouraging you to be more intentional when it comes to your child's digital behavior.
All right, so as we close, I know there are other threats that we won't get to go to touch on right now. However, what I want to let you know is that on Sunday, June 8th at 6 p.m., we'll be having our parenting webinar, Digital Literacy and Privacy, the key to your child's growth. And this is going to be held online. It's going to be online. And if you want to get that information, you could WhatsApp EKCO Nation at you can WhatsApp EKCO Nation at 254-3526. Or you could just check out our profile or join our channel online. All right, we have a WhatsApp channel online, so you can check us out, or you can check out our social media accounts on Facebook or on Instagram. We have the link there, or you could visit linktr.ee/EKCO Nation for the link to register for a free parenting webinar. We will be talking with Maurice Beckles as well as Mr. Stephen Williams. We're going to have them back, and we're going to be talking about digital privacy and literacy. And in today's interconnected world, digital literacy and privacy are no longer options. These are essential skills for a child's development. So we want you to go and join our webinar. It is free, like I said. If you want more information on this, WhatsApp 254-3526, or you can email us at ekonation@gmail.com.
Don't forget to tell them, Arnell, that you get to bring your questions. So this webinar, you, the parent, get to ask lots of your questions that you have.
And also we have the youth camp coming up. So thank you very much for joining us here EKCO Wise Parenting, brought to you by EKCO Nation and the Massey Foundation. Join us every Tuesday at 4 p.m. here on Life 97.5 FM. We're coming up to the end of the season, so you don't want to miss any of these episodes, and they're all available online as well. So you can go and check us on youtube.com/EKCO Nation. If you miss any episode, all the episodes are there, and you can feel free to reach out to us if you want us at your school, at your church, at any community group. We are willing to come and partner with you. Up next, we have the Starcom Network News. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.
Join the movement to change the culture, change the future. Become a monetary partner with EKCO Nation when you donate to our Scotiabank account number 456124. That's 456124. Checks can be written to capital EKCO Nation. Contact us at 254-3526, email econation@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.econation.com for more details. EKCO Nation is registered charity number 1429 in Barbados. We thank you for your continued support.